Well, what do you think of your Uncle Sam now? There could be no finer Christmas present than the news of peace. And now when we're done with this epidemic, everything will be all right.
After arrival on the Alaska Packers Association steamer Kvichak off Naknek, Anchorage on May 22, the first cases of influenza at Naknek were reported.
3 male natives, extremely ill and in a state of collapse, applied at Alaska Packers Association Hospital for treatment. A diagnosis of influenza was made, the natives sent to their homes and placed in bed. May 26th. Other cases rapidly developed the same day, and within 48 hours, all natives of the village were stricken, men, women, and children alike. But the children, as the subsequent death rate shows, were not so extremely ill and bore up well under stress.
May 30. I made a trip to the Alaska Packers Association's Ugashik Cannery, arriving there the same evening. It was found that the influenza had attacked the Ugashik people, that practically the entire native population was stricken.
Most of the cannery employees had been through the epidemic in the States, and many, no doubt, had had the disease with the resultant immunity, and although we had about 25 cases amongst the whites, fortunately no deaths resulted. The majority of the cases were Mexicans, and as many were sick only a day or two, and the company's hospital being crowded at the time, exact records are wanting in some instances.
On return to Naknek, it was found that a woman and child had died that day, and that many other patients were very low. As it became apparent that there would be many more deaths, a burial squad was appointed and supplied with suitable clothing and gauze masks for protection to prevent contagion.
It was necessary to supply the afflicted natives with cooked food and fuel. The men detailed for the work made rounds twice a day with large vessels of hot food. Coal, kindling wood, and other necessities were supplied liberally. The sick were given personal attention daily at Naknek throughout the epidemic.
June 4. To Captain Dodge, USS Unalga.
All natives at Ugashik Village sick with influenza. 12 deaths to date. Some wintermen also affected. Can you assist that station? We can handle situation here at Naknek at present. Heinbockel.
The superintendent issued orders forbidding employees access in or near the native village. A guard would have been posted if necessary. The only daily visitors to the village were the writer, the nurse, and the 6-man detailed to carry food and fuel to the afflicted homes and the handling of the dead. Employees were ordered to report to the hospital at the first sign of feeling ill and get necessary treatment.
June 4. A sailboat drifted ashore near the Alaska Packers Association's Diamond NN Cannery at Naknek. 3 small children suffering with influenza came up the beach and reported that 2 men were dead in the boat. The bodies were given a decent burial, and the children taken to the Alaska Packers Association's Naknek Hospital, where they recovered, and the boat was towed to the Diamond NN Cannery.
At the Alaska Packers Association's Naknek Station, a temporary, comfortable, and adequate orphanage was opened in one of the buildings, and all the children were well cared for. June 5th. The village of Savanoski, up the Naknek River, was in a deplorable state. The superintendent sent a relief party to furnish food and assistance to bury the dead and bring the remaining sick to the hospital.
June 8. To Dr. French, Nushagak. About 80 known died at Naknek. Adult population practically wiped out. Ugashik, 21 dead. Epidemic has not reached Upper Ugashik or Egagik villages yet. Assistance advisable should they be affected. Am giving all possible assistance at my command here in Ugashik. Nurses required to handle orphans.
On June 9, a temporary orphanage was prepared and equipped at the Diamond NN Cannery. An old hospital building was used for the purpose. The native children, before entering, were bathed and furnished with an entire new outfit of clothing. They had beds with mattresses, blankets, and pillows and were placed under the immediate care of a special nurse who supervised the serving of ample hot food to the 19 orphans. On June 19, United States Navy relief ship Marblehead arrived at Naknek Anchorage, and 2 physicians, 2 nurses, and 2 Blue Jackets were taken ashore in one of the Alaska Packers Association's cannery tenders. After inspecting the hospital and orphanage, they left without doing any relief work whatsoever at Naknek.
July 9. The influenza situation was improving at the Alaska Packers Association's Naknek and Ugashik stations, Egagik still remaining free from the epidemic. The main source of concern was the disposal of the orphans at the different stations before the departure of the cannery vessels.
July 20, 7:05. Anchored in 9 fathoms water, 45 fathoms port chain outside of Port Hayden, very close to shoals and breaks, to wait for tender to bring off destitute orphan children. At 5:10 p.m., commanding officer returned aboard and received on board for transportation to Nushagak River, there to be placed in charge of Dr. French, the representative of the Bureau of Education, 8 destitute orphan children, 5 boys and 3 girls, from ages 3 to 10. July 22nd. At 8:20 p.m., sent following radiogram to Superintendent, Alaska Packers Association at Naknek. Can you transport the orphan children from Pilot Station, Ugashik, and Naknek to Nushagak and turn them over to Dr. H. French sometime before you leave Bristol Bay? It is desired to have all orphans turned over to Dr. French to be placed in the orphanage to be built near Dillingham. Please answer at once. Signed, Dodge.
July 24. To Dr. French, Nushagak.
By direction of Captain Dodge of the USS Unalga, I am sending to your orphanage all the orphan natives of Ugashik and Naknek, steamer to leave on this tide.
Before closing, I wish to state that everything possible was done by the Alaska Packers Association to make the afflicted comfortable. The dead were properly cared for.
At the hospital were still some influenza patients and relief parties from around the bay bringing in orphan children of all ages. Dr. French and his nurses, Miss Ray and Miss Conley, had been doing heroic work night and day, but they too succumbed to the disease. We continued our work until the epidemic was over. At that time, the number of orphans had increased from 50 to nearly 150. Perhaps there is no single community in which this worldwide epidemic was so merciless, and where the efforts of those combating it seemed to them more fruitless.